My chosen one, stop for a moment and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not a coincidence. It is a divine interruption. This message hath been sent to you at a precise moment for a reason that cannot be ignored. There is an urgency in the spiritual realm right now, and heaven is moving with unusual speed. God has spoken, and Archangel Michael is standing as the guardian of this message, ensuring that it reaches your eyes before it is too late. Something extraordinary is unfolding today, and it is tied directly to your name. At exactly 5 p.m., a shift is scheduled to take place, one that carries a blessing so large, so unexpected, that it can only be described as miraculous. You may feel a sudden pull in your spirit, a sense that something is different, something is about to change. That feeling is not your imagination. It is confirmation. For a long time, your blessings have been delayed. Doors that should have opened remain shut. Opportunities slipped through your fingers, and you were left wondering why your prayers seemed to echo in silence. But what you could not see was the divine preparation happening behind the scenes. God was not denying you. He was aligning everything perfectly. And now, the moment of release has arrived. There is a reason this message says you must open this right now. This is not about curiosity. This is about obedience. In the spiritual realm, timing is everything. When God releases a word, it carries power, but that power must be received. By being here, by listening, you are already stepping into alignment with what is being sent to you. The figure you heard, $5 million, is not random. It is not symbolic exaggeration. It represents a tangible breakthrough, a financial shift that is meant to change the course of your life. But understand this blessing is not just about money. It is about restoration. It is about everything that was taken, delayed, or denied being returned to you in multiplied form. Right now, Archangel Michael is standing as your protector, clearing the path, removing obstacles, and ensuring that nothing interferes with what God has already declared. There are forces that tried to block this moment, whispers that told you it would never happen, doubts that crept into your mind late at night. But those voices are being silenced. You are not here by accident. Out of countless messages, out of endless distractions, you were guided to this one. That alone should tell you something powerful. This is personal. Heaven knows your name. Heaven knows your struggles. And right now, heaven is responding. But listen closely, because this is where many people miss their miracle. They hesitate. They question. They allow doubt to steal what faith has already unlocked. Do not let that happen to you. This is your moment to receive, not to second guess. Something is about to happen at 5 p.m. that will confirm everything you are hearing right now. A sign, a shift, a sudden change. You will feel it, you will see it, and you will know that this message was real. Stay present, stay open, and above all, stay ready. Because what is being released to your name has already been approved in heaven. There is something you must understand deeply, something that will change the way you see this moment forever. You were not randomly selected for this blessing. This was not assigned by chance, and it was not given lightly. Your name was spoken, your journey was examined, and your spirit was weighed with purpose. God does not release such a significant shift without intention, and your life has been moving toward this exact point for far longer than you realize. Think back to the moments when you felt overlooked, when others seemed to move ahead while you remained stuck. There were times when you questioned your worth, when you wondered if your efforts even mattered. But those seasons were not wasted. They were part of a preparation process that only heaven could orchestrate. Every delay, every closed door, every silent prayer was building something within you that could not be rushed. Archangel Michael has been present through those unseen battles, even when you felt completely alone. There were spiritual conflicts surrounding your progress, forces that attempted to discourage you, to make you give up just before your breakthrough. But each time you chose to keep going, even in uncertainty, you aligned yourself with something greater. You proved that your faith could endure pressure. This is why you were chosen. Not because you are perfect, but because you persisted. Not because everything was easy, but because you continued despite the difficulty. Heaven responds to endurance. Heaven responds to those who refuse to surrender when everything around them says to quit. You may not have realized it at the time, but every hardship you faced was strengthening your ability to receive what is now being released. A blessing of this magnitude requires more than desire. It requires readiness. And readiness is built in the hidden seasons, in the moments when no one is watching, when your only choice is to trust without evidence. There is also something very important about divine timing that you must not overlook. You may have asked before, why now? Or even, why not sooner? But if this had come earlier, it would not have carried the same impact, nor would you have been in the position to handle it wisely. Timing is not about delay, it is about alignment. Everything had to come together, not just around you, but within you. Right now, there is a convergence happening. Your past struggles, your present awareness, and your future purpose are all meeting at this single point in time. This is why the message carries urgency. This is why you were drawn here without fully understanding why. Something within your spirit recognized that this was not ordinary. There are many who desire blessings, but not all are prepared to receive them. You have been shaped differently. Your experiences have given you a perspective that others may not have. You understand loss. You understand patience. And you understand what it means to wait. That understanding is what will allow you to handle what is coming without losing yourself in it. Do not underestimate how intentional this moment is. Even the smallest details of your life have been leading here. The connections you made, the paths you walked, even the mistakes you thought disqualified you. None of it was outside of God's awareness. It was all woven into a greater plan. And now, as 5 p.m. approaches, the reason behind it all is beginning to reveal itself. This is not just about receiving something material. It is about stepping into a new level of your life, one where you no longer operate from lack, fear, or uncertainty, but from confidence, clarity, and purpose. So as you stand on the edge of this moment, understand this clearly. You are not unworthy of what is coming. You are not unprepared. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. And the blessing that is being sent to your name is arriving because you were always meant to receive it. There is something hidden that must now be revealed to you, something that explains why this blessing did not come sooner and why this moment carries such powerful weight. What you have been experiencing was not just delay, it was resistance. There was a spiritual battle surrounding your life, a silent conflict that you could not see but can certainly feel. The heaviness, the confusion, the repeated setbacks, those were not random events. They were signs that something valuable was being protected, something the enemy did not want you to receive. From the very beginning, when this blessing was assigned to your name, opposition rose against it. There were forces working to block your progress, to plant seeds of doubt in your mind, to convince you that nothing significant would ever change for you. That is why certain opportunities collapsed without explanation. That is why doors closed just when you thought they would open. It was not because you were unworthy, it was because what was going to you caring too much go. But you were never alone in this battle. Archangel Michael hath been standing in defense of your destiny, fighting on your behalf in ways you could never fully comprehend. While you were praying in silence, while you were trying to hold yourself together through difficult days, there was a divine warrior ensuring that the plan for your life remained intact. Every attack that was meant to break you was intercepted. Every attempt to delay your blessing was met with resistance from heaven itself. There were moments when you felt like giving up, when the weight of everything became too much. You questioned whether your faith was enough, whether your path was leading anywhere at all. But even in those moments, something inside you refused to completely surrender. That quiet strength, that inner voice telling you to keep going, that was not just your own will. That was divine guidance, keeping you anchored when everything else felt uncertain. What you are stepping into now is not just a reward. It is a victory. A victory over everything that tried to stop you. A victory over the doubts that whispered in your mind. A victory over the delays that made you feel forgotten. This is why the timing is so precise. This is why the message carries urgency. Because after all that has been fought and won on your behalf, the release of this blessing cannot be postponed any longer. As 5 p.m. approaches, there is a shift happening in the spiritual realm. Barriers are being removed. Chains that once held back your progress are breaking. What was once blocked is now being cleared, and what was delayed is now being accelerated. You may begin to feel a change in your energy, a sense of anticipation that you cannot fully explain. That is the atmosphere around you transforming. But here is what you must do. Do not allow doubt to return at this critical moment. Doubt is the final attempt to disconnect you from what is already yours. You have come too far, endured too much, and overcome too many obstacles to let uncertainty steal this from you now. Stand firm in what you are hearing. Receive it without hesitation. This is your confirmation that the battle has already been won. What remains is the manifestation. What remains is the visible proof of everything that has been happening behind the scenes. And when it arrives, it will not feel random. It will feel earned, aligned, and undeniably real. Now, in this exact moment, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Acknowledge that this message is speaking directly to you. Not to someone else, not to a distant audience, but to you. Because recognition is the first step to receiving. Type "I receive my victory" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 931 has just been released over your life, sealing this breakthrough in divine timing. And as this truth settles into your heart, understand this: what is happening right now is bigger than a single message. It is part of a greater mission to reach souls who are standing at the edge of their own breakthrough. If you feel this stirring within you, if something inside you is saying, "This is real," then act on it. Sow into this moment as a sign of agreement with what God is doing. When you release, you activate. When you give, you open the flow for others to receive. God is saying to you, as you pour into my work, I will pour into your life. This is not just a principle, it is a promise. Like a seed planted in fertile ground, your support becomes a harvest of transformation for countless others who are still searching for light. The PayPal link waiting in the description and the QR code before you are not just tools, they are gateways for obedience. I declare that as you step into this act, doors will continue to open, favor will follow you, and increase will meet you in ways you did not expect. Do not delay. Step into alignment now, and let your action become part of this divine movement. Something is shifting around you in a way that cannot be ignored anymore, and if you are truly paying attention, you can already feel it building beneath the surface of your life. There are moments in time when heaven sets a specific hour as a point of release, and what is happening right now is connected to one of those appointed moments. The atmosphere is not ordinary today. It is charged with expectation, as if something unseen is standing at the edge of manifestation. The focus of this message has always been the hour of 5 p.m., and that is not random. It represents a divine timing window where what has been held back begins to move forward. In spiritual terms, this is a moment of acceleration. Things that once took months begin to shift in days. Things that felt impossible begin to find alignment without human effort. You may not fully understand how this works, but you will recognize its effect when it begins to unfold in your life. There is a reason you were guided to hear this now. You were not meant to encounter this message later or dismiss it as something insignificant. Something within you was positioned to receive this instruction at exactly the right time. That inner awareness, that sense of pay attention, is not accidental. It is alignment. It is preparation. As 5 p.m. draws closer, you may begin noticing subtle signs. A sudden sense of clarity where confusion once lived. A quiet confidence rising within you that does not seem to come from logic. Even small things may begin to shift. Conversations, opportunities, thoughts that arrive unexpectedly. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that movement has already begun. You must understand that before every major breakthrough, there is a moment of transition. It is often subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, but it signals that what was once stagnant is now beginning to flow. Your life is entering that transition. What felt stuck is loosening. What felt delayed is aligning. What felt distant is drawing closer. Archangel Michael is still actively involved in this process, not as a distant observer, but as a protector of this unfolding alignment. His presence represents strength, order, and divine protection over what is being released into your life. Wherever confusion once tried to enter, clarity is now taking its place. Wherever fear once settled, confidence is beginning to rise. But even with all of this happening around you, there is still one important thing you must maintain: awareness. Not fear, not anxiety, but awareness. Because moments like this require presence. If you overlook the signs or dismiss what is unfolding, you risk missing the deeper meaning behind the timing. This is not about chasing something. It is about recognizing something that is already moving toward you. There is a pattern that often appears before major change. Things begin to feel different before they become different. Your emotions may shift. Your thoughts may feel more focused. Even your environment may seem slightly unusual. This is because transition does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers before it speaks clearly. And right now, that whisper is growing louder. You may find yourself reflecting on recent events in your life, wondering why certain things had to happen the way they did. The truth is, nothing has been wasted. Every delay, every disappointment, every unanswered question has been quietly building toward this moment of release. What you once saw as interruption was actually preparation. As 5 p.m. approaches, you are stepping into a point of spiritual alignment where intention meets timing. This is where belief is tested and where expectation becomes reality. It is not about forcing anything. It is about allowing what has already been set in motion to complete its course. You may not see everything immediately, but you will begin to sense it. A change in direction. A new opportunity forming. A door that was previously closed beginning to loosen. These are the early signs that what has been declared over your life is now moving into physical expression. Stay attentive. Stay grounded in what you feel, not in what fear tries to suggest. There is a difference between anxiety and divine anticipation. One drains you, the other prepares you. What you are experiencing now is preparation. And as this moment continues to unfold, remember this clearly. You are not waiting for something uncertain. You are witnessing something already in motion. 5 p.m. is not the beginning of your blessing. It is the confirmation of what has already been set aside for you. Remain open, remain steady, and allow what has been written over your life to reveal itself in perfect timing. There is a point in every divine unfolding where everything becomes simple, where confusion is stripped away and only truth remains. You are approaching that point now, and what you do in this moment matters more than you may realize. This is not about waiting passively anymore. This is about alignment, spirit, mind, and action coming into agreement with what has already been spoken over your life. What you have been hearing about this $5 million release is not meant to be processed only as information. It is meant to be received as a signal that something greater is already in motion and that your awareness is part of the activation. In moments like this, belief is not passive. It becomes participation. You are no longer just listening. You are responding. There is one simple truth that governs everything unfolding right now. What is divinely assigned cannot be permanently denied. Delays may happen, resistance may appear, confusion may arise, but what is meant for you will always find its way to you when timing aligns. And now, the alignment is here. This is why the instruction has remained consistent throughout this message. Open this right now. Not because a physical action alone creates the miracle, but because spiritual readiness is demonstrated through response. When you respond, you signal that you are no longer resisting what has already been prepared. Archangel Michael is present in this moment as a stabilizing force, ensuring that your thoughts are not scattered by doubt or fear. His role is not only protection but also clarity, helping you distinguish between what is fear-based and what is truth-based. There is a calm strength being offered to you now, a grounding presence that allows you to stand firm even as expectation builds. You may notice that as you continue listening, something inside you is shifting. It is subtle, but it is real. The hesitation that once felt strong is weakening. The skepticism that once tried to dominate your thoughts is losing its grip. This is not persuasion. It is recognition. A part of you already knows that something significant is unfolding. The instruction to open this right now also carries symbolic meaning. It represents openness in spirit, openness to receive, openness to change, openness to step into a version of your life that no longer mirrors your past limitations. Many people miss their turning point not because they are unworthy, but because they remain closed at the moment they were meant to expand. You are being asked to expand now. This expansion is not always comfortable. It challenges old patterns of thinking. It disrupts the familiar. But it is necessary for what is coming next. A blessing of this scale requires space, not just externally, but internally. If your expectation remains small, your perception of what is possible remains limited. But when you open yourself fully, something within you begins to match the magnitude of what is being offered. There is also something you must understand about timing. 5 p.m. is not just a number on a clock. It represents convergence. A moment where unseen preparation meets visible reality. Many things must align perfectly for such a moment to carry meaning in your life experience. And right now, that alignment is reaching completion. You are being guided away from doubt and into readiness. Doubt asks you to wait endlessly. Readiness allows you to receive. Doubt keeps you analyzing. Readiness keeps you aware. And awareness is what positions you to recognize opportunity when it appears. There is no need to force anything. There is no need to chase anything. What is meant for you does not require struggle to arrive. It requires positioning to receive. And positioning begins within you. It begins with agreement. Agreement with the possibility that something greater than your current experience is already moving toward you. As this continues, you may feel a sense of calm mixed with anticipation. That is not confusion. That is transition. Your inner world is adjusting to a new level of expectation. You are no longer fully rooted in where you were, but not yet fully standing in what is coming. That in-between space is where transformation happens. And in that space, your response becomes important. Say inwardly that you are open. Not desperate, not fearful. Open. Open to receive what has been prepared. Open to witness what has been aligned. Open to step into what has already been assigned to your name. Because what is approaching is not uncertain. It is already in motion. And as 5 p.m. draws closer, you are not waiting for permission anymore. You are stepping into recognition of what has already been released toward you. There is a deeper truth behind everything you have been hearing, something that goes far beyond numbers, timing, or expectation. What is being spoken over your life right now is not simply about financial change. It is about transformation at every level of your existence. The idea of $5 million is not just a figure to excite your mind. It represents a complete shift in what your life is capable of holding, experiencing, and sustaining. When heaven moves in this way, it never focuses only on material increase. It focuses on expansion. Expansion of responsibility, expansion of impact, expansion of identity. You are being prepared for something that requires a larger version of you than the one you have been used to being. That is why everything leading up to this moment has felt like pressure, stretching, and refining. You were not being broken. You were being expanded. What is coming carries meaning far beyond personal comfort. It represents freedom from cycles that have limited you, freedom from constant uncertainty, and freedom from the emotional weight of lack. But even more than freedom, it represents stewardship. Because in divine order, increase is never random. It is entrusted. You may not have always seen yourself as someone capable of handling abundance at this level, but heaven does not rely on your current perception of yourself. It relies on what has been formed within you through experience. Every challenge you endured has developed something within you that cannot be taught quickly or superficially. It is depth. It is resilience. It is understanding. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that this process is protected and intentional. His presence in this unfolding is not only about defense, but also about structure. Because when a shift of this magnitude approaches, structure is necessary so that what is received does not collapse under pressure but instead becomes sustainable in your life. There is also a spiritual principle you must understand clearly. Increase without alignment leads to confusion, but increase with alignment leads to elevation. This is why you have been guided through reflection, patience, and inner development before visible change. You are being aligned with the version of yourself that can not only receive abundance, but also maintain peace within it. This $5 million symbolism is tied to more than external wealth. It represents restoration of time, restoration of opportunities, and restoration of experiences that were once delayed or denied. There are things in your life that felt permanently lost. But what is being activated now carries the ability to restore in unexpected ways. Not always in the same form, but in equivalent fulfillment. You may begin to notice a shift in how you think about your future. Where there was once hesitation, there may now be vision. Where there was once limitation, there may now be possibility. This is not imagination. It is mental alignment catching up with spiritual direction. Your awareness is expanding to match what is being prepared. It is important to understand that abundance is not just about receiving. It is about becoming capable of holding what is received without losing yourself in it. That is why inner stability has been such a focus throughout your journey. Emotional grounding, patience, and trust were all part of your preparation. As this moment continues to unfold, you are being invited to release old definitions of limitation. You are not who you were when your challenges began. You are not confined to the circumstances that once shaped your expectations. You are entering a phase where new definitions must be formed, definitions based on possibility rather than restriction. This is also where trust becomes essential. Not blind trust, but informed trust, the kind that comes from recognizing patterns in your life that show you have been guided even when you did not understand it at the time. Looking back, you can see that certain delays protected you, certain redirections saved you, and certain endings made space for new beginnings. Now those patterns are converging into a single point of realization. Nothing was wasted. And as 5 p.m. draws closer, you are not being asked to chase anything or prove anything. You are being asked to recognize alignment and remain steady within it. The more grounded you are internally, the more clearly you will perceive what is unfolding externally. Let your focus remain calm. Let your expectation remain open. Let your spirit remain steady. Because what is being formed around you is not fragile. It is structured, intentional, and already in motion. And you are being positioned not just to witness it, but to step fully into it when the moment arrives. There is a seriousness to this moment that cannot be ignored, because what is unfolding around your life carries both opportunity and timing is something that must never be taken lightly. Many people miss what is meant for them not because it was never given, but because they failed to recognize the window when it opened. You are now standing within such a window, and awareness is the difference between alignment and delay. What you have been hearing about 5 p.m. is not simply symbolic language. It represents a decisive point of transition, a moment where what has been spiritually prepared begins to intersect with physical reality. But here is what you must understand clearly. Not every opportunity remains open indefinitely. There are moments that require response, not hesitation. There are shifts that require recognition, not analysis. This is why urgency has been present throughout this message. Not to create fear, but to prevent delay. Because delay, even when caused by doubt or distraction, can disconnect a person from the flow of what is already moving toward them. And what is moving toward you now carries significance that extends beyond your immediate understanding. There have been many unseen layers surrounding this process. What you are being prepared for has not been unfolding in isolation. It has been protected, structured, and timed with precision. And in that structure, timing becomes sacred. Not because time itself holds power, but because alignment within time determines reception. Archangel Michael continues to stand as a force of order within this unfolding, ensuring that what has been aligned is not disrupted by confusion or interference. There is a stability being maintained around your path right now, even if you cannot see it directly. That stability is what allows transition to occur without collapse or distortion. But even with this protection, there is still a responsibility placed upon you. And that responsibility is awareness. Awareness of what you are sensing. Awareness of what you are being guided toward. Awareness of the internal signals that are telling you something is different now. Ignoring those signals is what causes people to remain stuck in cycles that were meant to be broken. You may notice that your thoughts are becoming more focused as you move through this message. That is not accidental. It is the natural result of alignment beginning to take shape internally. When your attention is directed toward possibility instead of limitation, your perception begins to shift. And perception is what determines what you are able to recognize when opportunity arrives. There is also a deeper warning embedded within this moment, not one of fear, but of mistiming. When a shift is activated, hesitation becomes the only real obstacle. Not external resistance, not lack of ability, but hesitation. The moment you question too long what is already in motion, you create distance between yourself and what is trying to reach you. This is why clarity is being emphasized now. Because clarity removes hesitation. And when hesitation is removed, response becomes natural. You are not being asked to force anything. You are being asked to remain open enough to recognize what is already unfolding. There are signs that often accompany moments like this. A heightened sense of awareness. A feeling that something is about to change. A quiet inner knowing that cannot be explained logically. These are not coincidences. They are indicators that your awareness is syncing with timing. And even if your external circumstances still appear unchanged, that does not mean nothing is happening. Often, the most significant shifts begin internally before they become visible externally. The unseen always moves first. This is why patience has been such a recurring theme in your journey. Not passive waiting, but active readiness. The kind of readiness that does not panic when things seem still, because it understands that movement is not always visible at the surface level. You are now being asked to remain steady in that readiness. Not to rush ahead, not to fall back into doubt, but to remain centered in awareness. Because what is approaching is not uncertain. It is already structured. It is already aligned. And it is already moving toward its point of expression. As 5 p.m. draws closer, the importance of recognition increases. Not recognition of fear, not recognition of unity, but recognition of alignment. The ability to sense when something is no longer in preparation, but in release. You are closer than you realize to a turning point that will redefine how you interpret your own journey. And whether you realize it fully now or only in hindsight later, this moment will mark a clear distinction between what was waiting and what is now arriving. There is a moment approaching where clarity will no longer feel distant or uncertain, but immediate and undeniable, as if something within you suddenly recognizes what hath been forming all along. What you are stepping into now is a phase of confirmation, where subtle internal signals begin to align with external reality in ways that feel too precise to dismiss. This is not imagination, and it is not emotional projection. It is synchronization between timing and awareness. As 5 p.m. continues to be emphasized, you may begin to notice a shift in how you interpret even the smallest details around you. Things that once felt ordinary may begin to feel meaningful. Conversations may carry unexpected relevance. Thoughts may arrive that seem to answer questions you did not even consciously ask. These are not random occurrences. They are indicators of alignment becoming more visible. One of the clearest signs that something significant is unfolding is a growing sense of inner certainty that does not depend on external validation. It is a quiet knowing that becomes stronger the more you remain present. This certainty does not demand proof, it simply exists. And when it begins to surface, it often signals that transition is already underway. Archangel Michael continues to play a stabilizing role in this unfolding, ensuring that your awareness remains anchored even as perception begins to expand. His presence is not disruptive, it is clarifying. Where confusion once created noise in your thoughts, a sense of order is now beginning to take its place. Where uncertainty once blurred your perspective, clarity is gradually forming. You may also notice that your emotional responses are shifting. Situations that once triggered doubt or worry may begin to feel less intense. This is because your internal state is adjusting to a new level of expectation. When expectation changes, emotional interpretation also changes. You are no longer responding solely from past experience, but from emerging awareness of what is possible. Another sign that often appears during moments of alignment is timing sensitivity. You may begin to feel that certain moments matter more than others, as if your attention is being drawn to specific points in the day. This is not anxiety. It is heightened awareness of timing structure. It reflects that your internal rhythm is beginning to sync with external unfolding. It is important now to remain observant without overthinking. Observation allows recognition. Overthinking creates distortion. There is a difference between being aware and being overwhelmed. You are being guided into awareness that is calm, not chaotic, steady, not reactive. As this continues, you may find yourself reflecting more deeply on your past experiences, not with regret, but with understanding. You may begin to see how certain events that once felt disconnected were actually part of a larger pattern. This realization often brings emotional relief, because it replaces confusion with meaning. Nothing you have experienced has been isolated. Every step, every delay, every unexpected shift has been contributing to a larger unfolding process. And now, those individual moments are beginning to converge into a single direction. That direction is forward. There is also a growing internal readiness that cannot be ignored. It may not feel dramatic, but it feels steady. A sense that you are no longer the same person who began this journey of waiting and questioning. Something within you has matured through experience, even if you did not consciously notice the transformation happening. This maturity is important, because what is approaching requires stability of perception. Not emotional extremes, but grounded awareness. Not reactive thinking, but receptive understanding. You are being positioned to receive clarity without distortion. And as 5 p.m. remains a focal point of this unfolding, it is less about the literal moment and more about what it represents. Transition from preparation to realization. A shift from anticipation to recognition. A movement from unseen alignment into visible confirmation. You are being asked now to trust what is already forming within your awareness. Not to force belief, but to acknowledge perception. Because perception is often the first place where transformation becomes visible. If you feel a sense of quiet anticipation building, allow it to remain without resistance. It is not something to suppress or question. It is something to observe. It reflects that your internal state is preparing to meet what is already on its way. Remain open, remain steady, and allow clarity to emerge naturally. Because what is unfolding now is not distant. It is already approaching the point where it can no longer remain unseen. Now, as this divine alignment is unfolding in your life, I want to speak to you not as an invitation, but as a spiritual connection point. What you give in this moment is not just support. It becomes a living seed in the field of God's work, spreading light to those still lost in silence and confusion. Through your obedience, you are helping open paths where darkness once stood, allowing hope to flow like a river into waiting hearts. I declare over you that every act of giving becomes a release of multiplied grace, a return of unexpected favor, and a covering of divine protection over your life. This is not about helping a message. It is about participating in a mission already chosen by heaven. I speak directly to you now. If your spirit feels aligned, step into this flow without hesitation. Let your action confirm your faith. So now into what God is expanding, and do not delay what is being spiritually prompted in you. There is a deeper structure behind everything you are witnessing right now, and it is important that you understand this clearly so you do not misinterpret what is unfolding. What is happening in your life is not random spiritual excitement or emotional projection. It is a guided process of alignment, where unseen order is gradually becoming visible in your awareness. You are not stepping into confusion. You are stepping into structure that has been forming long before you became aware of it. In moments like this, it is easy for the human mind to focus only on what is visible, but what is most important is what hath been operating beneath the surface all along. There has been a consistent flow of protection, correction, and redirection surrounding your path. Even when situations felt uncertain or delayed, there was an underlying intelligence ensuring that nothing essential in your journey was lost. This is where the presence of Archangel Michael becomes significant within this unfolding. His role is often understood as one of divine order, protection, and clarity. In symbolic terms, he represents the removal of confusion and the strengthening of truth in moments where perception begins to shift. When life feels scattered or unclear, this presence is understood as stabilizing what is unstable, allowing alignment to take shape without distortion. You may begin to notice that your thoughts are becoming more structured as you continue through this message. That is not accidental. When internal alignment begins, mental clarity often follows. Confusion loses intensity, and your ability to recognize patterns increases. You are no longer processing information in isolation. You are beginning to connect it into meaning. This is an important stage of transformation, because clarity is what allows transition to become sustainable. Without clarity, even progress feels uncertain. But with clarity, even small changes become meaningful indicators of direction. You are moving into that clarity now, step by step. There is also something happening within your emotional awareness. Situations that once felt overwhelming may now feel more manageable, not because the circumstances have changed, but because your internal response to them is shifting. This is a subtle but powerful sign that you are no longer interpreting life solely through past experiences. You are beginning to respond from a more grounded perspective. In this process, discernment becomes essential. Not every thought that enters your mind during transition is aligned with truth. Some are reflections of old fears, old conditioning, or previous uncertainty. That is why awareness, not reaction, is being emphasized. You are being guided to observe without immediately attaching meaning to every emotional fluctuation. As this continues, you may also notice that your perception of time feels different. Moments may feel more significant. Certain hours of the day may feel more noticeable. This is not coincidence. It is heightened sensitivity to timing alignment. When internal awareness begins to sync with external unfolding, time is often perceived differently. And within all of this, there is a deeper stabilization occurring. You are being prepared to hold clarity without losing balance. That means you are not being rushed into conclusions or forced into emotional extremes. Instead, you are being guided into steady awareness, where understanding grows gradually and naturally. There is also a shift happening in how you view your own journey. What once may have felt fragmented is beginning to appear more connected. Experiences that seemed unrelated are now forming a pattern of progression. This is one of the clearest signs that perspective is changing. And when perspective changes, interpretation of life changes as well. Nothing you have gone through has been isolated. Every moment, even those that felt insignificant, has contributed to the formation of where you are right now. That realization brings a sense of grounding, because it replaces randomness with structure. And structure brings peace, even in moments of uncertainty. You are also being guided into a space of internal readiness. Not rushed readiness, but calm readiness. The kind that does not panic when things are still unfolding, because it understands that unfolding has its own timing. This is important because premature conclusions can disrupt perception. You are being protected from that disruption by being guided into patience with awareness. As 5 p.m. continues to be referenced throughout this unfolding, it is not simply a time marker. It represents convergence. a point where preparation meets realization, a point where what has been forming internally begins to align with external expression. You are approaching a stage where clarity will no longer feel like something you are seeking, but something you are standing within. And as that transition continues, your awareness becomes more than observation. It becomes recognition. There comes a moment in every unfolding journey where the most important shift is no longer external, but internal. It is the point where circumstances matter less than mindset, and where what you believe about yourself begins to determine how you experience everything that follows. You are entering that moment now, and it requires a level of inner stability that cannot be shaken by uncertainty. What you have been moving through is not only preparation for a change in circumstance, but preparation for a change in capacity. Because receiving something significant is never just about obtaining it. It is about being able to hold it without fear, without confusion, and without self-sabotage. This is where many transitions become challenging, not because the blessing is too small, but because the inner foundation is still adjusting. You are being strengthened in that foundation now. There may still be moments where doubt tries to reappear, where old patterns of thinking attempt to pull you back into familiar limitations. But you are not the same person who once accepted those limitations as truth. Something within you has already begun to shift. You may not always notice it in real time, but it is visible in how you respond differently now compared to before. The presence of Archangel Michael in this unfolding represents a stabilizing force during inner transformation. Not only protection from external interference, but protection from internal clouds under pressure. Because when expansion begins, the mind often tries to resist what the spirit is ready to accept. That resistance is natural, but it does not define your outcome. You are being guided into a state where fear no longer leads your interpretation of events. Fear tends to exaggerate delay, magnify uncertainty, and distort timing. But awareness brings proportion back into balance. It allows you to see situations as they are, not as fear suggests they might be. And that correction is what restores emotional stability during transition. As 5 p.m. continues to be emphasized, it is important to understand that the focus is not on anticipation alone, but on readiness without anxiety. There is a difference between expecting something with pressure and being open to something with calm certainty. One creates tension, the other creates alignment. You are being moved toward alignment. This is also a time where identity begins to shift, not in a sudden or dramatic way, but in a gradual realization that you are no longer confined to past definitions of yourself. You are not the version of you that struggled without understanding. You are not the version of you that believed limitation was permanent. You are moving beyond those identities, even if fully recognizing it takes time. There is a quiet restructuring happening within your perception of possibility. Things that once felt unrealistic may now feel less distant. Not because circumstances have changed yet, but because your internal boundaries are beginning to expand. And when internal boundaries expand, perception of what is possible expands with it. This is a critical stage, because what you believe you can hold determines how you respond when opportunity arrives. If your perception remains limited, even something significant can feel overwhelming. But if your perception expands gradually, you begin to receive with balance rather than shock. That balance is what sustains long-term stability. You are also being guided into emotional grounding. Not emotional suppression, but emotional clarity. The ability to feel without being overwhelmed by what you feel. This is what allows you to remain steady during moments of change. Stability does not mean absence of emotion. It means understanding it without being controlled by it. And as this process continues, your awareness of timing becomes more refined. You begin to sense when something is approaching resolution rather than continuation. That sense is not guesswork, it is internal recognition of alignment progressing toward completion. Everything you have experienced up to this point have been preparing you for this level of awareness. Nothing has been wasted. Even the confusion you once felt played a role in bringing you to clarity. Because without contrast, clarity cannot be recognized. Now you are standing in a phase where inner readiness matters more than external confirmation. You are being shaped into someone who can recognize alignment when it arrives, without hesitation or distortion. Remain steady in that process. Allow your thoughts to settle. Allow your perception to adjust naturally. And trust that what is forming within you is not random. It is structured preparation for what is already moving toward expression. There is a wider impact to everything that is unfolding in your life, and it is important that you begin to see your journey not only as something personal, but as something that extends beyond you. What is being activated now is not limited to individual transformation. It carries influence that reaches into the lives of others connected to you in ways you may not yet fully recognize. When alignment begins in one life, it often creates ripple effects that touch family, relationships, opportunities, and environments. This is because personal transformation is never truly isolated. It becomes part of a larger flow that influences everything connected to your path. You may not always see these effects immediately, but they begin subtly and expand over time. What you are moving toward is not just a moment of receiving. It is a shift in your capacity to influence and support others through what you will eventually carry. That is why the preparation process has been so detailed, so layered, and at times so challenging. It was not only shaping your endurance, but also shaping your responsibility. There is a reason certain experiences in your life required patience beyond what seemed reasonable. They were building emotional depth within you, the kind that allows you to understand others more clearly. And that understanding becomes essential when your life begins to impact more than just your personal circumstances. Throughout this unfolding, the presence of Archangel Michael represents not only protection over your individual journey, but also protection over the influence your life will have moving forward. In symbolic terms, this presence ensures that what flows through you remains aligned, structured, and grounded in clarity rather than confusion or instability. You are being prepared for expansion that includes responsibility. Expansion without grounding can lead to imbalance, but expansion with awareness leads to stability and purpose. This is why so much emphasis has been placed on inner clarity, emotional steadiness, and perceptual awareness throughout your journey. These qualities are not accidental, they are foundational. As 5 p.m. continues to serve as a reference point in this unfolding, it symbolizes not just a moment of personal change, but a turning point in direction. A point where what has been internal begins to express itself externally in ways that influence your environment and the people connected to you. You may begin to notice that your thoughts naturally extend beyond yourself more often now. Concerns about others, ideas for improvement, or a deeper sense of awareness about your surroundings may become more frequent. Is it part of expansion of perception? When internal alignment increases, external awareness also broadens. It is also important to understand that what is being prepared for you is not meant to isolate you from others, but to position you in a way where your presence becomes more impactful. Influence does not always come from position or status, it comes from alignment. And alignment often becomes visible through how you affect the lives of those around you. There may already be subtle signs of this beginning. People responding differently to you. Conversations taking on deeper meaning. Situations resolving more smoothly than before. These are early indicators of shifting influence, even if they appear small at first. Nothing about this process is accidental. Even your past experiences with difficulty have contributed to the development of empathy, patience, and understanding. These qualities are essential for what comes next, because they ensure that what you receive does not remain only with you, but can be carried in a balanced and meaningful way. You are also being guided into a deeper sense of responsibility, not pressure, but awareness. Awareness that your life is part of a larger flow that affects more than just your immediate experience. This awareness is what allows maturity to form within transition. As this continues, you may feel a stronger sense of direction emerging within you. Not urgency, but clarity of purpose. A sense that your path is not random, but structured in ways that are gradually becoming more visible. That recognition is important because it strengthens confidence without forcing certainty. And as your awareness expands, your ability to recognize alignment in others and in situations will also increase. This is part of your growth process. You are not only being prepared to receive, you are being prepared to understand what you receive and how it extends beyond you. Remain grounded in this awareness. Let your perspective widen without losing stability, and understand that what is unfolding now is not just about your moment of change. It is about the ripple effect of that change moving outward in ways that are already beginning to form. There is a quiet moment arriving within this entire unfolding where everything begins to settle into clarity, not as something dramatic or overwhelming, but as something deeply certain and peaceful. What has been building throughout this journey is now reaching a state where understanding replaces uncertainty, and where awareness becomes the final form of confirmation. You are entering that space now. Everything you have experienced, everything you have been guided through, has been leading toward a sense of inner stability that does not depend on external validation. That stability is the true sign of transformation. Not noise, not intensity, but calm recognition that something within you has shifted into alignment with a greater flow. As you reach this point, it becomes clearer that what was once felt as delay was never absence. It was preparation. What was once felt as confusion was never disorder. It was restructuring. And what was once felt as waiting was actually formation. Each layer of your journey has been building toward a version of you that can stand steady in awareness without being shaken by uncertainty. The presence of Archangel Michael in this entire unfolding symbolizes protection not only over what is coming into your life, but also over your ability to remain centered as it arrives. In moments of transition, protection is not always about preventing change. It is about ensuring you are able to receive change without losing balance. That is the deeper form of guidance that has been surrounding you. Now, as 5 p.m. has been emphasized throughout this message, its meaning resolves into something simple yet powerful: alignment reaching expression. It is not about expectation anymore. It is about recognition. The point where what was once internal begins to feel complete in understanding, regardless of external timing or form. You may already feel a sense of calm emerging as you reach this part of the message. That calm is not emptiness. It is resolution. It is your awareness settling into acceptance of what hath been unfolding all along. There is nothing more to chase, nothing more to force, and nothing more to prove. Only awareness remains. And in that awareness, something important becomes clear. Your journey has never been disconnected from purpose. Even in moments where you felt uncertain or alone, there was direction. Even in moments where progress felt invisible, there was movement. And even in moments where nothing seemed to change, transformation was still taking place beneath the surface. Now, the hidden process is becoming easier to recognize. You are no longer interpreting life only through what is immediately visible. You are beginning to understand the deeper patterns that were guiding you all along. This understanding is what brings peace, because it removes the illusion of randomness. What you carry forward from this moment is not expectation, but awareness. Awareness that your life is still unfolding in alignment, even beyond what you can currently see. Awareness that your experiences have meaning that extends beyond the present moment. And awareness that you are not disconnected from what is being formed. You are part of it. As this message comes to its close, allow yourself to remain in this state of calm recognition. Do not rush forward mentally. Do not pull backward into doubt. Simply remain present with what you now understand. You are in a process that has been guided, structured, and carefully aligned. And now, as you hold this understanding, let it rest within you with peace. Nothing is being demanded from you in this moment except awareness. And awareness itself is enough. If this message has brought light into your awareness, then understand this is not just a moment of hearing. It is a moment of alignment. What you choose to do from here becomes part of how this light continues to reach others who are still searching in silence. When you give, you are not simply supporting a message, you are participating in a flow of spiritual impact that moves beyond what can be seen. Your act becomes a seed that carries transformation into places you may never physically reach. I speak this with clarity and authority. Let your response be an expression of faith, not hesitation. Step into agreement with what is being expanded through this work, and allow your giving to become part of that expansion. What you release now is not lost. It becomes multiplied in purpose, in reach, and in impact. Move forward in alignment, and let your action reflect the awareness you now carry.